right, welcome back to Scholarship Tea with me, the Scholarship College Mama. And today I'm so excited because I've got two very special guests here. I've got Nicole and Mimi. Say hey, y'all. Hey.
Hey, y'all.
I've been looking forward to this conversation because we have a young woman who just recently crossed the stage, graduated from Albany State University, cap, gown, stoles, and zero debt. We're going to talk about all the scholarships she won, how her mama stood by her and helped her on that journey, internships, ambassadorships. She's about to pack and embark on another adventure, going to Botswana in Africa, 3.7 GPA, and she's my soror. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and so much grace. I'm so excited. Please welcome Nicole and Mimi to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so Mimi, take us back to high school. So many kids are we're in your position right now in high school, looking for scholarships, trying to see if they can get a debt-free degree like you had. Take me back to high school and how you started your scholarship journey.
First, what I remember is being in my advisor's office pretty much every day. You have those little breaks between classes, and then sometimes I would spend lunch in there with him or after school, like waiting for practice to start, anything like that. So I was always in the office with Mr. Brian Sabato. And it was to the point, like, sometimes he'd be like, you didn't come to see me today. Is everything okay? Like, that's how much like time we spent together.
That's
and I got
good.
to know him very personally. And he helped me a lot too, but not just scholarships, but also just knowing how to navigate life as a young woman, as a young Black woman, and knowing how to just carry myself, how to put myself out there for opportunities, and also just never really accept no, because I never accepted it from him either. If he said like, oh, I had this opportunity, he showed me just how to work for it and just really advocate for myself for what I deserve.
Awesome.
And also just like applying for things is very tedious and it takes a lot of patience. So he taught me that as well. And he would give me like the tips and tricks that he would have for his own children, and how I can apply those to applying for my own scholarships and different opportunities, and also just sharing that with my mom and showing her like, this is what I learned from school, or this is what I learned from my advisor, and just like moving it forward, and kind of just like, if you stay in someone's ear, they never forget you. So that's how you keep like just getting stuff on and on.
And he's wonderful.
So
he still sends me information for her. And his daughter is also applying for doctor of physical therapy program, which is what Mimi is aspiring to do, to become a doctor of physical therapy. Wow. So when I saw him, I think it was in February at her school, he sent me a lot of information for her. And then I too sent him information for his daughter to apply for scholarships for the DPT program. So he was, when I say he was amazing, he wrote wonderful letters of recommendation to the point that one scholarship.
That's important.
Yeah, it's very important. It was detailed. But what she did is she submitted her resume with her brag sheet so he can write a more in-depth letter. So it felt like he really knew her. Even though he knew her, it took it up a notch. And so one of the scholarship organizations told her that letter alone was impressive enough that it granted her a scholarship, because it was so detailed, and he had to condense it to one page, even though it was 1.5. But he just really looked out for her. He was, constantly sending her and me opportunities to remind her, hey, I'm sending her these things. So he was really an advocate for us and with her.
That's awesome. Let me put a pin in that and piggyback on 3 important things you just said. Your relationship with your guidance counselor, your recommendations being key to winning, and your brag sheet, because I tell kids all the time, you have to leap off the page. These people need to be able to write to your strengths and abilities, and they have to know you. And if they don't know you, give them a resume or brag sheet. So can you speak to how important your relationship was with your guidance counselor, how important a strong recommendation is, and how important it is to have a brag sheet or resume to give your recommenders?
First, with my guidance counselor, it was just important because a lot of people, no matter what like system you are in, they have a lot of connections that just tie to them as a person. So like once you connect with them on a genuine level, then it's easier for you to just be able to get more opportunities. And also they learn who you are as a person, what you like, what you dislike, and they can show you, like, they can see little challenges within you that they want to help you grow into before you get into that next stage of life. And then once they know you on a more personal level, then it ties into the letters of recommendation, because first they're more willing to write it if they actually have a real relationship with you and they know what to write on it, as opposed to like you just telling them what you would like on it. But they can actually say that, like, I really know who Mimi is, and she can really do these things that she's saying. And then what was the third part you said?
Your resume.
Yes.
The importance of a brag sheet and a resume.
I would say that's very important, because sometimes when you might have like a lot of items listed on your resume, you forget little bits and pieces here and there, and those might be the bits and pieces that get you landed into that job or get you that scholarship if it's between, like, say, you and another student with like the same GPA, the same campus involvement, and so on. So that'll be like the difference maker between you receiving the money or the job, and just like allowing your counselor, whoever's writing the recommendation for you, to really understand who you are, your passions, and how they can intersect what you told them versus your experience, and then put it together.
And something to add to that, when I taught her about the brag sheet, I told her similar to an elevator speech, know, and pick your most important. Put your most important, because sometimes, just being honest, as a person who writes recommendations, we don't want to read all the stuff sometimes, and just speaking for yourself. But if
like
you
a grocery list or laundry list, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And and I told her with her brag sheet, if you just list the most important parts, that if he doesn't read anything else, at least he got these short things, these short accomplishments, achievements, awards, whatever it is, he has that. And that way, not just him, but, other people.
Anyone, right, exactly.
Right. And that way they can read it and write your letter that they got the most important bits. The other aspect that I shared with her is that, and this is just a personal thing, this might not work for everyone. I said, because he writes a lot for you and he does it so willingly, just at the end, always just show graciousness and thank you, and just
always
say
thank you. Thank you, Mom, for saying that. Yes.
Which she does. And I said, let's get him a gift card like Starbucks, something minor.
Right. That's important though.
Right. And make the card handwritten. So that way, because I said the more he and others feel appreciated, the more willing they are to continue writing it. And one of the systems, yes. And one of the systems that I set up for her is I told her to create an email account with her name and the year she graduates, and then make all scholarships, admissions, everything going to that one email.
Exactly. I did the same thing with Liz. Yep.
Yes. And then I told her, we have a whole system, like a scholarship chart calendar that we read that's color coded based on what's local, based on HBCU based on national.
I'll ask you about that. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get to that. And then
no, that's okay. Okay.
It's just that brag sheet. I just told her it's very helpful because it helps us to get to write, not us, I say, because I share it with students too, but it helps the recommender to write the letter in an easy way that's reading shortened abbreviations of your accomplishments and achievement. I said, listen, the way her counselor wrote this one email letter, if I can keep that as the recommendation for the rest of her life, I'm like, because he really hooked her up.
Wow. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing. All right. I want to come back to what you just said, Mom, but let's talk about what the both of you actually built over this past 4 years, because the numbers are staggering. 43 scholarships publicly, but Mom really told me the number was really 83. So number one, why keep it moderate? And then walk us through your process. How did you find the scholarships? How did you stay organized? How did you keep applying, especially to those internships, ambassadorships, all while maintaining your GPA in high school and college? And Mom, what did you witness behind the scenes, and how did you help her behind the scenes? So either one of you can go first.
I'll start it. So what I did, excuse me. Sorry. What I did was I took what I shared with how I helped one student in particular, who, because I used to be a teacher. And so what I did
is to the teachers.
So what I did is the way I worked with that one young lady, I used those strategies to help her. And so what I did was I would look up scholarships based on what she wanted to do. So at that time, it was exercise science, and it still is, but at that time, it was exercise science. So I did like in your dissertation process, like a Boolean search. I was very specific in my terminology and what I found through Google, saying exercise science scholarships for HBCU students, or exercise science scholarships for Black females, or exercise science scholarships for minority students. And
Mhm.
then after that, I got all the D9, for obvious reason, it was easy to find the D9. So what
Right.
I did was, because she was busy, she was getting physical therapy because she sustained an injury playing sports and had to
Oh,
get
wow.
physical therapy. So
Okay.
she was doing that. I still wanted her to be an active student senior, enjoying her senior year. So
Mhm.
because she was in physical therapy, still going to school, going to practice and rehab, I said, okay, how can I make this easier? So what I did is when I say found, because I had to do a deep dive, I
Wow.
found scholarships for her and then I sent them to her. And what she knew is that was my way of helping in this process, because we know a lot of the times the time consuming part is finding scholarships.
Yes, it
So I
is.
would find it, send it to her, and she and her counselor, and her English teacher, they would work on it during their times, because she knew once I found it, that meant she met the requirements. That
Right.
meant I looked through everything, and she's still required to look at her own checklist, but she
Mhm.
knew that was something that with my eyes, I found it for her to do. And I would say, hey, here's the deadline. You got to
Right.
get it done by this time. That was my way of helping. It doesn't take away from the integrity of her doing the scholarship.
Right.
This is my way of just helping her. And so by doing that, it was helpful in her getting so many done. But not only that, the other system I had for her is the start of her senior year, the summer, I had her writing essays for the commonly used essay question.
Right.
And I said, because you're going to see these in a lot, like career goals, obstacles you've overcome. How do you
Yep.
plan to contribute to your community? How will this
Right.
degree help you?
Perfect. Same.
Her personal statement. I can't remember
Yep.
everything right now, but I had her writing all of those. So
Mhm.
that way, when she went to school with her counselor, they were just perfecting essays and editing. And so it helped, because that's how she got on the ball going. And then with our organization, I had a big wall calendar. And then we had it in a commonly walked area where we can see red
Mhm.
meant due this week. We had a color
Right.
code. Green meant I can't remember. So green, I'm gonna just give something. Green meant it was HBCU. Black
Okay.
meant it was big national scholarships.
Okay.
Red represented local. And then we
Okay.
had a chart saying when she submitted it, when the due date, did she receive it? Was it a check or to the school or check to her? And what else? I can't remember what else, but I created the chart myself. And then so she just filled it in. And that way we use it each year to reapply for other scholarships,
That's
because
awesome.
it was color coded based on, is this renewable? Can you apply again as an undergrad?
Right.
And so a lot of them are repeats. One time, one lady from an organization really liked her scholarship essay, that we thought was a one time. They told her to apply every year, and they gave it to her for 4 years.
Wow. See how that happens? Look at that.
Yeah,
That's a
and I
great
was
tip for those
amazed by that.
listening. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. That's amazing. Mimi, how important was it for you to have your mom helping you in that regard? Because I know a lot of kids don't have that help, never mind from a teacher. English teachers, by the way, a great source of
Mhm.
information and help and assistance, and guidance is important too. But how important was it to have your mom kind of helping you? Because in my own journey, I was that kind of help for my Elizabeth. I would find him, give it to her. A lot of times she would say, "Oh, mommy, I already did that," because they had scholarship class in homeroom and advisory, which was a blessing also. So I would
Mhm.
give it to her and she would do it. So how important was that help and support from mom?
It was very important, especially
Go ahead. What?
especially being her being an English teacher, because it really matters where you put like the commas, the semicolons, the periods. And I didn't always used to know where they were supposed to go.
Where it's
So
supposed to
she had,
go, right?
yeah, so I had to get some help
That's
with
real talk though. I like
now,
that. Okay.
but now I know where they're supposed to go. I still have a few mix-ups here and there, but I've come a long way. And also with just her being a supportive mom, and just always, no matter what it is, she tells me like, I'm behind you 100%, and she tries to see how she can just step in and make things easier, and just allow me to be successful in any way that I can, while still like allowing me to, if I do have like a failure, then she shows me like how to bounce back up from it and then have success the next time. Or sometimes she'll just show me like, instead of doing it this way, do it that way. And
Right.
then that'll just help me that'll prevent me from failing in the first place. So it's been a good overall help.
That's awesome. You have a built-in at-home editor.
And
That's amazing.
but I needed an editor for my dissertation. How about that?
Listen, I had to hire a couple for mine because I needed fresh eyes. And that was the name of
That's
the
what I
company,
did.
Fresh Eyes. I'm like, please look this over because my eyes are not getting it at all. So let
Yeah.
me switch gears now. We're going to come back to scholarships, but one of the most hotly debated issues on the internet when kids decide to go to an HBCU versus other types of schools. So, of course, you were at Albany State. The HBCU choice, walk me through that. How many schools did you apply to? How many schools did you get into? And why did you ultimately choose an HBCU?
I chose an HBCU just because, well, first, I always hear my mom telling me the stories of, like, when she was at Howard. And like the real proof is when I come home from school and it's actually this couch right here. She'll be on the phone with her friends just laughing, and they'll literally be going over the stories that happened. Well, I won't say how many years ago, but they happened. And like, it's just like she's always going over the same stories. And I'm like, dang, that must have been a really good time. Like, if you still going over it years later.
Mom said, yeah, we had a great time.
a time was had that cannot be shared on the podcast.
Okay, all right. We'll talk offline about that then. Okay.
And just talk about like the connections she made, the experiences she had. And so it just sounded like a really enriching and really heartwarming experience that I wanted to have for myself and just like create my own legacy within that. So it kind of was always known that I was going the HBCU route. So it was just a matter of picking.
Tell about the tours.
Oh yes, and I participated in HBCU tours, and that was in high school, and they just would take us to like the different regions. So you would start in like the southern region, and then you have one that's in the eastern region,
right?
And because we would drive from like school to school, like so you would fly from your home state and meet all in one central area, and then you would fly to like the first university, and then you would just take the charter bus from each different university and down travel there, and then you would like tour the university, then you would get to tour like the downtown or the local part of the city around the university and just get like the history, such as famous restaurants, famous people that have come there, the different like historical landmarks and just things like that. So, not only like the HBCU, but, the city behind it, like why the HBCU was created on that specific street.
Okay.
And all of that. So, getting back to it, I applied to, I don't remember the numbers specifically.
But she did a lot through the Black Common app too. So that's so many,
good. The one where you can apply to up to 60 to 65 schools all at once.
I think it's 67. I think, yeah. So that counts. But she was also looking at schools that were recruiting her for volleyball as her priority. And then the other thing is, she didn't mention when she was younger, I made it a point to take her to Howard homecomings to expose her.
See, I'm about to say, as an alum, Mom, did you take her to homecoming? Great. Amazing.
Absolutely. I made it a point because, I tried to, of course, I wanted her to go to Howard because who wouldn't want their kid to go where they went? It was just what Howard did for me. I really can't put into words. It was just an unbelievable experience. I think about it daily. I tell her the things that I learned, especially network is second to breathing. And it's just the relationships I have with people. I still talk to some of my professors. One of my professors is a godmother. And it's like, I wanted, naturally for her to have that same experience. And she did in her own way. And what I had to learn is, although she didn't go to Howard, she had to create, like she said, the legacy she wanted for herself. And I just wanted to support her. And I'm thankful because at first I really wasn't too keen on her going to Albany State. I admit, because it was
that
like
our number one. What was our number one choice at the time?
Her number one choice at the time was Alabama State, but they didn't really have her major. But at Albany had exercise science. They had it. And so I just wasn't really too keen on it just because it was in the middle of nowhere. And it was just like, to me, I wanted her to have a well-rounded experience coming from a big city in Phoenix. We know the bigger the city, the more opportunities and resources. So I was looking at it like that, not as like saying Albany is below Howard, not at all. It was just more so the bigger the city, the bigger the resources and opportunities. And I know as a mom, I wanted her to fly. I wanted her to develop her wings, fly. And that means being exposed to people in the field, more people, more opportunities. And I didn't think a smaller city had that, but boy, was I wrong. By the way what she has done, I was wrong. I submit to being wrong. And I'm just really thrilled that she decided for herself. This was for her because I told her, you have truly walked into your destiny doing all the things you've done. So that's why I said, so it started with tours, and then my grandmother went to Prairie View. So, we kind of have a little bit of HBCU
legacy. Yeah.
Right. So that's how I started going to Howard homecoming. Cause I'm like, if you go to Howard homecoming, don't feel nothing from that. I got to figure out how we
I don't know what to tell you. Exactly. I agree. Mimi, what did the HBCU experience and environment give you academically, socially, and personally that you don't think you would have been able to get anyplace else?
Academically, it definitely gave me like a sense of balance and just teaching me how to prioritize and time manage, because like with all of the different like ambassadorships, the conferences, I did miss school. Like, of course you get excuses, but you still miss school and you miss like class time. So I learned how to just kind of be proactive instead of reactive. Like I would come in early as 7 a.m. for office hours with my professor, especially like physics, because that class gave me a big run for my money. So like just learning how to come in and make time for what you have, because at the end of the day, you're still there for school and you still have to pass. And, I can't come home with anything under a B. So
No, ma'am.
I had to figure out how to pass the class even with traveling. So it taught me that, and just how to ask for, I knew how to ask for help, but how to ask for help in a different capacity as far as it was for grades, because, every class wasn't always as easy. And then on the social side, it definitely helped me to get out of my shell, because my mom will always say that I was very shy and introverted before I went to college. And she's like, now you have as many friends as me. Like, I go to different colleges, and I'll be like,
your mom got a lot of friends, I can tell. Yeah. A whole bunch of them. Yeah.
My friend, like, hey, can I stay with you? So that eliminates the hotel, and take a little road trip. That eliminates the rental car. And then, like we cook in the dorms, that eliminates food right there. So now we done made a whole trip for like $200. So, I learned that from the social aspect.
I love
and also
that.
just within the staff at my school. For graduation, I told my mom about my auntie at school. She's a lady in the caf that always put a little extra scoop of grits and eggs on my plate at breakfast and the weekends. So,
I love that.
People like that. And, I just formed a really close relationship with a lot of the staff and my athletic director.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
My different professors. My professors, they write great letters of recommendation as well. And they just they've been like more than a professor, just kind of people that I look up to and I can always come to and sit in their office whenever I'm bored or having a challenging moment of the day. And I come in there and just sit with them. They help me talk through my emotions or talk through something I'm struggling with in the class and help me to move forward past it. And then like my athletic director, she's been very instrumental to my growth professionally and personally.
Awesome.
She's someone, she's been very honest with me. She's a soror as well. So it speaks to her voice in the world.
Hey, soror, all right.
Yeah, she is. When I tell you, I speak highly of her all the time. Her name
like
is
a mom away from home. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say that. Dr. Christine Kelly is her name. And when I tell you, when we first got there, she just, I know her. She knows my big sister, my sister Spesh. And so when it was known she was going to Albany State, she was like, Nicole, you need to reach out to Dr. Kelly. She's a soror. She's amazing. And I said, okay. And then two other people that played volleyball with me at Howard did the same thing. I was like, okay, this lady must really be something if everyone is telling me. And listen, they did not sell her short in the description. Wow. She is amazing. She has provided opportunities for my daughter that I'm not going to say that didn't exist, we didn't know about. And just to have an athletic director support you, she was at her step show posting about her saying, oh, I love to see how our athletes are well-rounded. Like for me as a mom far away, that made me feel comfortable knowing that I had an adult there that was supportive of her. And not only that, supportive of not just her being an athlete, but being a well-rounded student athlete who's looking for things outside of athletics. Because as I shared with my daughter, volleyball does not define you. It's a piece of your life, but who you're trying to prepare to be someone after volleyball. So you have to go to the career fairs, attend these conferences. And I didn't have to say anymore because she attended over 20 fully funded conferences and make those connections with people that offer you job opportunities. And that's how she's gotten internships through Dr. Kelly, through USA Basketball. Well, she recommended her to apply. That's what I mean. I'm sorry. And then, but other opportunities to attend conferences. And then, people would send her stuff. My line sisters would send me stuff to send to her. And next thing I know, I'm like, where are you going? And she's like, oh, I'm going to this place and this place. And,
I'm going, I'm out of here. Yeah.
She's gone. And so Amazon gave her a fully funded internship where they covered her housing, her apartment, and her rental car, and paid her weekly and offered her a job afterwards to return after graduation. But, she's looking to grad school. And so, but I told her, when you do a job, an internship, or attend a conference, your goal is to leave with them saying, okay, we've got to have her back, or
Right.
where they speak so highly of you, where they want you back. And so you want to return where, you know, they can write a recommendation. They say, we'd love to have you. We'll welcome you back.
Hire
And so
you.
I'm thankful that many of those opportunities have existed with follow-up opportunities or connecting. Like, for example, she had an internship with, I think it's called Zincs. I may be saying it wrong, but it was remote the summer end of her freshman year. She met the owner of Zincs. His name is Mr. Carney, and he's been following her and on LinkedIn and social media, and offered her just recently, or presented the idea with her to Africa, that Coca-Cola is trying to do an HBCU on the yard, or how do you say it?
It's like the World is My Yard campaign for HBCU.
Wow.
It's about empowerment and just seeing how you can connect like your background and where you're from, and connect that like to a drink in your daily life, and just like make it into a whole entire campaign.
And they're trying to do career advisement, like they're trying to just do a whole platform. So they're talking about having her represent Coca-Cola in Africa with their product. So that just came from, again,
breaking news. This just in. Wait a minute. You have the
Well, no,
possibility
it's not
of
official.
representing Coca-Cola on a global stage?
But it's not official yet. They just had the conversation.
Well, conversations lead to actual factual things. Oh my goodness. Y'all heard it here first. Mimi about to blow up. Blow up more than that's amazing. And how do you feel about that, Mimi?
I feel just very grateful, you know, because I worked like a lot to get here, and also my mom worked a lot to get me here as well. And I'm also grateful for like the friends that I have, the genuine friends that I've made in college, because I feel like sometimes like one thing that I've learned is some people just want to connect to you because of like who you are, your accolades. So I really like, it's been a little challenging, but I've learned just how to weed out like who's really in my corner and who's not. So it's helped me a lot to just first just remain humble, because as soon as you like, you know, get too big headed, that's when things get taken away from you. Or as soon as like, you know, you don't want to lift others as you climb as well, that's when things also get taken away. Because my mom always taught me like, you know, it's no good in getting higher up in the world if you're not bringing others with you, as she does with her friends as well. So just seeing who's genuine and just remaining humble and just always remaining grateful, because like, you know, it's a blessing to have everything that I've been given, and it's also just a blessing to experience this journey of life, and just, you know, having fun along the way.
That is so awesome. Now, you mentioned your athletic director, so let's turn to the sports aspect of things. Health and human performance major, specializing in exercise science, and of course, this huge volleyball star. Let's talk to me about that. How did you choose your major, and tell me about your life in volleyball?
Yes, I actually chose my major when the injury my mom spoke about, the shoulder injury. And at first I wanted to be a college math professor, but then when I got into like, I think it was trigonometry or pre-calculus, I understood it, but I understood it enough to like get a B. I think it was like just the average B, like B plus, something like that. But you have to master it, you know, to be able to teach it to others.
Other people, right?
Yeah, I just didn't have it. So we had to pivot, you know, as you have to pivot in life.
Have to pivot, girl, yes.
Luckily, at the same time I started to not understand it, that was also when I got injured. So everything kind of just worked out in that sense. And then when I was going to physical therapy, I just thought it was really cool. Like, of course, like, you know, like it kind of helped me to enjoy going, because I didn't really want to go. I just wanted to get better and get back on the court. But I was like, well, I have to be in this, so let me at least like, you know, try to enjoy the experience and, you know, see what I can gain from it. So I was just really paying attention to everything that they were doing, like the ice packs, the different heat modalities that they do electric stimulation on you, the different stretching techniques, the different ways that the body can heal. They do needling, and like, you know, of course those terms, like they take a lot of time to like learn and understand, but to me it was just really cool. And I was like, wow, like I don't even like needles, but like this is cool, but like, I still like needles. And it was just so interesting to me, everything that goes into the body. And then every 2 years with athletic training, you have to take another course to just keep your brain sharp and know what updates are in with the medical world. And I was like, wow, like it's really always changing. That's so interesting. So I was like, well, I might, you know, want to just try this and see what I can learn, what I can take, how I can grow with this. So then I got into it in high school and just really started to pay attention to what I was learning and see the different career pathways that are available. Like, you have athletic training, you have physical therapy, you have sports psychology, which is you're still healing the body, but you're healing the mental aspect and the emotional aspect of the body. And then you have a sports nutritionist, which is seeing how the muscles take different fruits and vegetables to know how to like make your brain sharp again when you come on the court with your reaction time, and then see what helps your biceps and triceps grow versus your quadriceps by just eating like carrots versus broccoli. So things like that. And
I didn't even know that. You just taught me something. Okay.
I didn't know that. And
wow.
You know what she's
so,
not.
But it's crazy how it's so detailed and intricate. You
Mhm.
hear something like, oh, that major is just X, Y, and Z. No, there's really nuts and bolts to all
Yes.
of what she's been learning. That's fascinating.
And let me tell you something she's not sharing. And I don't think she's not sharing it for any reason other than because she's done so much. It's just a matter of remembering. So once she developed this passion, I would say, for physical therapy, she had already, and she kept articulating, I want to be a physical therapist. So as a mom, of course, I'm going to nurture whatever it is that she wants to
do. Right.
So she made it a point to tell me, which I didn't know about this program. She made it a point to tell me when she went enrolled into this particular high school, they had a vocational program that was like an extension of the school district, and they can specialize in physical therapy, HVAC, cosmetology, a whole bunch of other stuff. She made it clear, this is where I want to go, start going into freshman year, 8th grade. So I looked into it to see how it works. Okay, after second year, she can enroll in it. She made it a point to take sports medicine classes. So she enrolled in what it was called EVIT, East Valley Institute of Technology. So when I tell you she thrived in that program, she did an externship at the physical therapy place that healed her from her injury.
Wow.
And then they gave her opportunities after college to shadow the therapist because she needed some hours for different things. And so she made it a point to do those things that will validate if this is what I want to do or not. So I just wanted to share that she took it upon herself to grow beyond an understanding of physical therapy as a patient to see if this is what I want to do on a clinical basis. And then she found out from her mentor, who's a Howard graduate and physical therapist here, this is what you're going to have to do for schooling in order to be a practicing physical therapist. And he's been instrumental too in helping her with understanding like so much with physical therapy schooling. Even when she was debating school to go to as a freshman in college, he was telling her, okay, this is what you can possibly major in. And we learned the goal was just to get the prereqs met going into to be prepared for the DPT program, as opposed to, oh, you have to major in this. So her mentor, and this is why I think mentoring is also important, because you get with somebody who knows something outside of you. Like I have no problem with anybody mentoring her, teaching her, as long as they're sharing the right things. Hey, be my guest. And that's what he's been instrumental these last, I would say 8 years as a mentor. And so, and then from there, she's gotten internships with like Eli and Peyton Manning as a sports med assistant. So it's been a lot of things she's done, and she did the virtual.
That's very impressive. Wow.
With the Philadelphia Eagles. So she's put herself out there to make sure she's learning all aspects of what she wants to do. And although Amazon is not the internship, it was not with physical therapy, but she had to teach health safety techniques to prevent injuries on the job. So it correlates in its own way.
It correlates. Exactly. That's smart. I like that. So I want to talk about sports some more, but let me ask you this. What does the future look like? Usually you ask this at the end, but I'm just fascinated by your story, Mimi. What ultimately, what do you want to do? I mean, even beyond grad school, like what's your ultimate career goal?
I actually have a name. I don't have my own practice, but I have a name, Harris Holistic Home, because holistic is like having
Harris Holistic Home. Okay.
Yeah, 3 H's, and I like the number 3 because I was born on the 3rd day. And Jesus rose on the on the 3rd day.
Well, so, all right, hallelujah, we love it. So come on now, happy Sunday. I was born on the 3rd day. Jesus rose on the 3rd day.
And her volleyball number is 3 because her godmother is number 1, and she was an All-American and Olympian and all that. She was number 1. Her number, my jersey was 2, and then her jersey number was 3.
Look at that! Look at God working. Look at that. I love it. Harris Holistic. Oh, come on now. I love a little girl with a plan now. Listen, now what I really wanted to ask you about, because all of the kids think, at least the kids in my classroom, they think they're going to be recruited. They're going to be this big athlete and get all this NIL money. Let's talk about NIL, the money and giving back, partnerships with brands like TurboTax, Credit Karma, Telfar, Mizani, Firehouse Subs, and more. You are just so impressive. Every minute that passes by this program, I'm just like, wow. So how did you start building that portfolio as an HBCU athlete?
She first, like, she would research different like NIL coaches or like brand coaches and see who best aligns with us and the route that I was going. So they helped a lot with just showing us like the algorithm with social media, because like, there's times to post, there's different ways to connect with your audience, and just understanding how like I'm a brand as a whole. And then it would go into what do I like to do like in life, and then how can I connect that with different brands, because like, it's really hard to post or connect with something that you don't really like in real life. So like everything that I've done like with Mizani and with other hair care companies, and some of like I also work with Hot Pockets, I used it myself. Like I ate Hot Pockets and I used the different hair care products before I would use it on like people at my school or just endorse it to them, just because I want to make sure that like one, I'm using something and showing you something that I would actually use myself, and also just it makes it more authentic, because that's how people trust you, and that's how you build rapport with your audience.
True.
So having that. And I will say too, like with the NIL, it definitely takes a lot of patience, because from what I've seen and also what I've heard from my friends and different peers, it normally will start at like, a lot of the Power 4 and Power 5 universities.
I was about to ask you that. Yep.
It will start with the male sports mostly, which is, just kind of a challenge that you see within society now, is like a lot of things are kind of tailored towards males versus females. And then you also have to look at diversity as well, just being honest. So then it'll start with like basketball, football. Those are the two main male sports that you see.
Always. Yep.
For them, it's mostly like you just see them getting it, but it's like, okay, like you don't have to like really work for it. Like we have to work to get these deals, especially as an African-American woman.
Sometimes it's hard, girl. You listen, I know. Yeah.
And then I think something too that a lot of people don't really see within the NIL space is you have to have the financial literacy to be able to hold the money that you're receiving. So like, you're making NIL money, but now you don't know what to do with it. Like you don't know how to invest in stocks. You don't know how to put it into your savings. You don't know how to
not just spend.
Yeah, just like people are just spending their money. So it's like, I think there's also different aspects to NIL that also should be tapped into, with the financial aspect, with the turning it into a scholarship or turning it into a nonprofit, a donation, anything like that, just because it doesn't make sense to just get the money. You don't know what to do with it, or you don't know how to get to the next part of the money.
And also to add to that, what I did is connect her. I have a good friend, he's an investor, and their girls play volleyball with her. So, we know the family very well. And so granted, I know about stocks and investment, but not to the level that he knows. So during the Christmas break, was it last Christmas break?
I think the one before that.
Okay, the Christmas break before that, he had us come over to the house while he sat with his girls and he talked to them at the level they understand, and taught them how to read stocks, how to read it online, and everything. I don't know all the terminology, so that's my stuff. But he shared it with her at a level that she can understand, so she can know what to do with her earnings. And that was important to me, because what's the point of gaining money if you're not going to know what to do with it afterwards?
Exactly.
And these are financial strategies that I wanted her to have healthy fiscal spending and savings as an adult. And so that was part of the NIL. And I'll say that she had one amazing NIL coach. Her name is on Instagram, Sideline Counsel. She's a former attorney, and she really helped us to open our eyes to understand what it is and defining the brand, understanding the brand. She did a lot of identifying companies that she can pitch her to for opportunities. And then other people shared opportunities, would say, hey, like one of the WNBA players, she was an NIL brand advocate for her. It was called the Advocate Her.
Okay.
So we learned about a lot of things through others sharing it with us. And then, by me just naturally being Mama Bear, I'm going to look for things for her that make sure it aligns with her, something she can do. And so, and she still has some of them that she can represent when she goes to Africa next week, like with Ultra Ankle. And so it's just a matter of a collaboration. Everything we do is collaborative. And I asked her, is this something you're interested in? And then I'll send it to her if she is. But we learned you want to build relationships with companies that'll extend beyond athletics, because athletics is a short time. but you
Right.
can stay with these companies for a long time if you
Long
build
term, right.
relationships. So we're
Exactly.
trying to play the long game with companies, establish rapport, relationships, so it can continue on outside of athletics.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm glad you brought up the Power Five athletes. I was going to ask you and pivot because a lot of people don't realize that HBCU student athletes can leverage NIL deals and money the same way that Power Five athletes can. So, what do you want Black students, Black women in particular, and families to know about that? And you use your NIL earnings to fund Mimi Gives Back, an ASU scholarship. Talk to me about that too, which I think is amazing.
To kind of use our experiences at our HBCU, because being at HBCU, especially the smaller ones in smaller towns like I was, it teaches you like just really how to grind and how to put your name out there. Because like, you know, a lot of people be like, "Oh, what school do you go to?" And I'm say Albany State University. "Oh, where is that? What is that?" You have to like just really give them a lot of information. So that kind of just translates into why should we bring you on as an NIL athlete? You know, just using that same grit and using that same like pool of information to just really sell yourself and say why you're the best candidate or why you're a great candidate to be an addition to their company. And then on the flip side, once you get it, knowing how to keep it is, like I was saying, invest in scholarships and stocks and anything related to that. Because like how I was able to go to school debt free, it doesn't make sense if I can go debt free and other people are sitting here, you know, like struggling to be able to purchase a refrigerator or a microwave or just buy a book for a class that they need. So that was kind of like the foundation of my scholarship. And then since I did come to the university a little bit later, like as in a transfer student, that's why I really wanted to make it for first year students as well as transfers, because either way, it's your first year at the institution. So I wanted to just shed light on them and let them know, like, even though you didn't start at ASU, that it's okay and your journey is still supported. And
That's awesome.
Really use that to show them, like, you know, no matter how your journey looks or no matter like where you start, it just matters about how you finish and how we can help you to get to the finish line. And it was just a really cool way for me to connect with students and just talk to some of the transfers, because like, you know, they're coming on to the university with like really, I don't want to like just a minimal support system since they don't really know that many people yet. So it was a nice way for me to get to connect with them and just show them, like, you know, what is possible, even though you don't have the same journey as everyone else.
Right, exactly. So now it's Sunday. I do want to talk about your faith, but let's also talk about service, which is important, which a lot of kids is lacking in their profile and portfolio, right? So in 2020, you received the Prudential Spirit of Community Service Award, which I'm very familiar with. You were recognized nationally by 2 former presidents. You've logged over 720 documented service hours across multiple states and internationally. During Thanksgiving, you and your teammate Jada Watson personally funded holiday meals for 14 families across 4 states. And of course, being a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, service is ingrained and built in what we do. So how do you balance being a full-time student athlete, and showing up at this level of service and commitment, which a lot of grown-ups don't even do? Just amazing. Just amazing.
720 is documented from, it's not like just one year.
No, I know it's over a period of time, but still,
Yeah,
it's just,
and
it's still
since
is
high school.
outstanding. Completely outstanding. Talk to me about that, Mimi.
Yes. Well, I'm going to connect the 2 points that you had, then separate. I think that the service and the faith, they kind of intertwine a little bit, just because in every connection that you have, like, of course, I don't post every service that I do, like every, like, you know, going to see a homeless person and just giving them, like, you know, some food or some money. Just like, I feel like it kind of takes away the genuine aspect of it if you're always posting it. But that's also a way for you to connect with them and just kind of show them the goodness of God, because in everything that we do, you know, you want to give God glory, and it's also a chance for you to just pray over them, allow them to see how the fruits of their labor will be rewarded, and just give them like a sense of kingdom on earth. So I think of it that way for when I like see, why do I want to serve and why do I want to be of service to others? Just because that's kind of like what we're put on the earth to do. And then also, like, from a young age, my mom always just had me, like, you know, going out with her to the community service on the weekends. She had me, like, you know, helping to give away old clothes or shoes, business clothes to different shelters, and just seeing like how blessed are you and how can you bless others. And that's also how I started my own Jeans for Teens drive, because she told me to find a need in my community and work to fix that need. as you should do with anything in life, you should always, like, look to see where there's a challenge and how you can be a problem solver within that challenge. And I was able to get, I think it was over 400 pairs donated throughout the entire USA. So that was just really instrumental for me, and just allowed me to see like how much of an impact that you can have when you just reach out and show others like, this is what I want to do, and how can you support it.
Tell us about your other three, the COVID, the COVID.
Oh yes, I had the COVID meal relief as well.
Wow.
And that was, I couldn't drive yet, so she was driving me around, but we were, this is at the time of COVID, and they would have the different school buses come out to the neighborhood, and they would be giving out meals to kids, because, like, everyone doesn't always have the same access to food or different resources in a time of a pandemic like that. So they were giving it to us, but at the end of the day, whatever wasn't taken, they would just throw it away. And I'm like, that's wasting so much food. And there's people literally like 0.5 miles away that can use that food. So I'm like, well, okay, you're not going to take it to them, but we're going to take it to them. So we would get it, we would take it to them, and they'll be like, we would add a little bit of our own stuff. Like, we have some extra water bottles or some extra like non-perishable items or things that people can't be allergic to. Then we would add that in there, and, just show that there's still some humanity in the world. And then my third one was my holiday toy drive, where I allowed students to just say what they wanted for Christmas, and we would get like, their name and their age, so we can make it a little bit more personalized and make them a basket, or you can have donations made so people can like get gift cards, or just get like a generalized gift, just so it's something better than nothing that you have. Because, everyone wants to open up that present and unwrap those gifts on Christmas. So just, something better than nothing. And then my fourth one.
The Thanksgiving you and Jada did. Oh, she said, girl, I got this. Okay.
I got this, Mom. I got this.
I just listen. As a proud mom, you just want to make sure she say all the stuff.
You don't miss nothing. It's so much, though.
I know. And I know. So she got this.
Go ahead, girl.
Our Thanksgiving meal drop. I did that with one of my teammates, Ms. Jada Watson. And she also has a faith background as well. So this is another point of our faith and service intertwining. And we just got on Instagram. It was a very blooper filled video of us just like, saying like, this is what we want to do, how we want to bless families. And it was just very like, just real raw and uncut, but the message was still there. Like, we want to bless someone with some food. So we had them fill out a Google form of like where they live, what they wanted the most. And then I believe it was allergies in there. And then what else?
Well, and tell them the idea came from Flourish with Zay.
Oh yes, another soror. She had this idea that we duplicated from her. So our sorors have some great ideas
that we do. Yeah,
and we just take it a little bit for where we are. So we were able to get, was it 40 meals?
No, it was across 4 different states. I can't remember how many because I oversaw the Google form process, because this was my first time doing a Google form, so I was learning. So the idea had come strongly to duplicate it from a soror of ours, Flourish with Zay, or Z, and she was doing it. And so she and her teammate combined together to come with the idea to duplicate it. And so I reached out to the teammate's mom because we would ultimately fund some of it, and then she used some of her NIL earnings to fund it. So what it is Walmart had a meal for like $40, and you can get a turkey dressing, all the sides, dessert. It was everything for $40.
Wow.
And so we didn't expect so many to come in, and so, but it showed there was a need because so many people were impacted by the government shutdown.
Absolutely.
So I had to reach out with SOAR Cameron to get more information so they can duplicate it. And she was so inspired that her act of kindness inspired a younger generation. And then in turn, I got calls from parents saying their kids wanted to do the same thing because they saw what Mimi did. And so it was not sponsored through Walmart, but Walmart was doing it, but they used their monies to help families. So it was their money that they used to make sure families had a full Thanksgiving meal.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, piggybacking off of that, in your faith, tell me about your series, Favor Fridays, where you talk about faith and patience and purpose with HBCU students and parents. Talk to me about that.
Yes, so that started during my Amazon internship in my apartment that I was in. I was just cooking dinner one day. I think it was maybe lunch. I was cooking something because I was hungry. Yes, I was in there cooking. and I just heard something in my right ear. It was like over my shoulder, and it said Friday series. So, like that was the Lord speaking to me. And my mom taught me when I was younger about obedience, but I learned when I was older about like what that really means and what it is.
Mhm.
So then I called that same teammate, Jada Watson, actually, and I called her and I was like, I need you to help me come up with a name. Like, I told her about it. And then she gave me like a list. And then I asked my mom, I was like, okay, like what name do you think would fit the most? So then, like, of course, like, I prayed over the name, and then I just started it up. And it first started as like, just say, hey guys, welcome back to my series. This is a verse I have for the week, and then like, what it means. But then it kind of developed into me saying like, an accomplishment that I had during the week, as well as a challenge with the verse and with what it means to me. And then I would start bringing on like special guests, such as like, my friends or people that go to my institution as well. And then what I saw is it wasn't really about like, of course, it was about sharing the gospel, but it was more so about like people were starting to become more comfortable and they were starting to grow in their walk with Christ when I would invite them on. Because like, a lot of my friends after we would record, they would say like, Mimi, I was really scared, but like, this has really just helped me to kind of like get back on fire with wanting to get closer with God and just be more into my walk. And also like just see that everyone's walk is different, but it's about like how you make it, what you get from it, and how you can just grow the seed and then expand that seed to others. So it kind of just turned into like just something that people like, would come up to me. So like, how I watched this and this is what happened this week, but I remember the verse that you told me, so that's how I got through this. And then one girl said like she was nervous about her test, but the verse I gave her that week helped her to just get through it and just cast all her worries onto Christ and just move on through her week. So it kind of just turned into something that just showed like you can just be authentic, you can be yourself, and you can still be someone that messes up every day, but you still have God that opens his arms up and lets you just come into his arms and just because like like I'm not perfect either. Like sometimes
nobody is, girl. Listen,
I didn't handle it the best way, but being authentic in that shows that like no matter how much you mess up, you still have a Father in heaven that gives you an everlasting promise that you always have somewhere to come home to. So just having that, I think it really helped just shift the atmosphere and shift like the narrative around how you have to be as a Christian, because people didn't get to be the oldest perfect person. Nobody is perfect but the Lord himself. So
amen.
That's what I wanted to have within my series, and I think I've done a pretty decent job with it.
You did a good job.
Yes, ma'am. Oh my goodness, Mom, she's phenomenal. I gotta have you back. I have so many other questions. So, but before I ask the next few questions that I have,
back after Africa.
I'm saying after your trip, when you return, I gotta have you back on because I want to hear all about it. Y'all gotta come back and talk to me.
Adjust to the time difference because I might be sleeping like a bat.
Yeah, I give you a couple weeks to adjust. Not a problem. So I can't have you here and not talk about Delta. You know that. You crossed into Delta while at Albany State. Delta has a legacy of scholarship, service, and sisterhood. First of all, you got to tell me why Delta, and how did being a Delta shape your college experience and your identity, and how that affected you being on campus, all the things. Go ahead, talk about it.
Yes. So, well, I will say first, I crossed with Delta Rho, the Albany State University chapter, and I think a part of what my mom said about like me not going to Howard, how I made my own legacy, that was one of my biggest blessings coming from going to a smaller HBCU, because I definitely know I got the line sisters that were definitely made for me, and they all helped me in a different way. Of course, like even within the challenges, they still show me like this is how you should talk to someone within a disagreement. This is how you should, like carry yourself with the letters, like, just like showing me different things of how to be as a woman, be as a sister, because I'm I'm an only child. So, it takes a lot of time to just be able to know like, okay, how do I occupy space? And not just the space of like, okay, we're sharing the bathroom, but how do you occupy space when there's a challenge in life, or when we're presenting together, when we're in class together, and just like, going through day-to-day things, like, how to just be a sibling, how to be a sister, things like that. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I really love about our organization, and not trying to be messy or anything, but I feel like we really focus on the parts of the African American community that a lot of people overlook, such as like the really underserved parts of the community, or the shelters that just don't really get as much attention because, you know, like every shelter has a different need. Like some shelters, they need shoes. Some shelters, they need clothes, such as business clothes for different attires, because they may have clothes, but you want them to go out and get a job and they don't have any slacks or a button down to be able to go and present themselves well. Some shelters need something just for them to be able to wash their face and look more presentable for these interviews. So it's just looking at different parts of the community and being very intricate and very intentional with what you're looking at. And then knowing how to be around like-minded individuals that not only see the need, but they know how to fix it. If they don't know how to fix it, they know how to call on somebody for help who knows how to fix it, and just using different expertise to be able to help in that community. So I am a legacy as well. So that, you know, that I will say that didn't aid in my decisions because I definitely had a lot of free will. My mom would always joke growing up, like, you know, if you try to do something else, I'm not going to help you pay, or I'm not going to do this. Like,
don't
you know,
come home. I'm not helping you pay. You can't walk through the door. Get out of here. Right.
But you know, so it definitely just I observed sisterhood in all 4 organizations. Five organizations within the D9, but there was really no other choice. Like, it's really hard. Like, it's one of those things, like when you just know. And it's been a very great experience. And just, I think one of my biggest things as well is being able to connect with sorors from different chapters, because the sisterhood is the same, even though you didn't cross with someone or you don't have the same like day-to-day experience with them, you still are able
other
to
women you connect with, right?
You have the same ideals, you have the same virtues, and you're just able to still see like, how can we serve our community even though we come from 2 separate communities, and just seeing like you're treated as a sister no matter like where you are. And so it's overall, she's been a very enriching experience for me. It's helped me grow a lot as a woman. It's helped me also to know how to make connections. I know how to walk into a room, because, you know, there's always that saying, like, when you walk into a room, you can tell when there's a Delta, because everyone's like, oh. But like, that's, you know,
they
like,
looking.
Really,
yes.
Yeah, that's really true. And so I just like
capture the attention in the room. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I just remember like I'm where I'm supposed to be, and like everyone, I should turn heads because like I'm where I'm supposed to be and I'm who I am. And I want everyone to see that when I come into the room. So it's just been very great overall. And I just have a lot of like new sisters to talk to whenever I'm bored. So it's fun.
and they chat a lot.
I know they do. Well, you mentioned being a legacy. Mama, tell us where you pledged.
I pledged at Howard Alfred Chapter Spring 96.
Yes. The Mecca. There you go.
I tell everybody, not Delta based, but Howard is the Mecca of Black excellence. And just my opinion, again, it does not take away from any other institution, because that's not what we do. I support all HBCUs. And actually at my job, I'm known to wear nothing but HBCU shirts. So although my daughter went to Albany, I can be found wearing Morehouse, Tuskegee, FAMU, you know, Tennessee State, Claflin. I wear t-shirts from all the HBCUs because 1, it's a conversation piece. 2, I want to expose students, especially living in Phoenix, to HBCUs. And 3, I'm a supporter of HBCUs. So, you know, so I'm just thankful for her intuition and drive to make her decision to go where she wanted, because I really believe if she had gone someplace else, she probably would not have been able to do all the things she's doing, because it's not easy balancing athletics, academics, and all these things, because not every athletic program is supportive of you being a well-rounded student. They just want you to focus on the athletic portion only. And so I am thankful for that she was allowed to be a well-rounded student, supported by an amazing athletic director who wants to see her student athletes thrive and be well-rounded. One of the mottos that the athletic department has at Albany State is creating legacies. And after I read that article written about her from her athletic conference, the SIAC, I said, that's exactly what she did. She created her own legacy, and it's definitely, she left a trail of footprints for someone to follow. They don't have to be like her, but they can follow and say, I too can be well-rounded. So that means joining whatever club. That means, like, you know, I didn't know what Royal Court was until she made it, you know, just because I'm not.
I didn't know either. I'm not together.
That's right. You were on the Royal Court.
And she
was going to ask you about that too. Yeah.
So I learned a lot of things through her, and she knows I support it. I'm like, before I give her my blessing, I just ask her, have you thought about it? Have you thought about the time commitment? You know, she knows I have her back to the moon and back, but I
Right.
need to know that you've done your part to research to make sure you can do it with your time commitment, because I don't want her to be overwhelmed. But luckily things worked out for her senior year, or maybe this second semester that she just had classes. I think it was just Tuesday and Thursday. So that helped her with her other commitments to do
Right.
things like, for example, she'll be luckily, because she had Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays off, it allowed her to fly to Atlanta. She'll be on the reboot of Netflix, A Different World. So she was flying to Atlanta.
Wow, really? And what
Mhm.
breaking news this just in? Mimi's gonna be on the reboot because we've been watching that closely. Now, you have a part? Are you on campus? Are you an extra? You in the background? What are you doing?
I'm an extra. I'm a sorority girl extra.
Wait, with
They
your
did, they
letters?
did have me, they did
With your
have me
letters
on
on?
the screen.
With our letters or just with
No,
some
it
made
was
up letters?
sorority Alpha Delta Rho.
It's made up.
Oh,
It's fictional. Because back when you and I watched Different World, they did
they
show
had actual
Edgewood
deltas on campus. Yeah.
But
Oh,
for
wow.
whatever reason, it's changed. But I like it. When she sent me the picture with her and Miss Allen and the sorority sister, I said, they got my baby in all this green, you know, looking at the pictures. But I was laughing about it in a joking way.
We
And I
look
was
good
like,
in any color. It's okay. It's all
yeah,
right.
no, it's true. And I was like, okay, well, you actually look cute in green, you know. And then when I looked at the letters, I said, okay, this doesn't mean this is how they chose it, but I took it as Alpha Delta Rho. They took names from each of the three
Yeah, and
sororities.
mixed it up a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
But it kind of worked with her because her chapter is Delta Rho and it was
Wow.
Alpha Delta Rho. So,
Okay.
you know, so I
It worked
thought it was
out.
good. But the thing is about that whole experience, she could have finished in December of this year. And she did it of last year. I'm sorry, December of last year, 2025. And she was just getting ready. I don't know if she told you she did a physical therapy abroad program in Thailand. Where because physical therapy is her thing. So she went to
Okay, hold up. When did you go to Thailand?
I went to Thailand from December 27th or 28th until January 12th.
It was a
Wow.
micro broad opportunity.
Wow. One of my twins went to Thailand. How did you like that
Oh, I
experience?
loved it. I loved it. I think
And
my
she didn't want to
favorite
go
part,
home.
my favorite
Wow.
part, aside from the food, because you know food is always good to me. But
Yeah.
my favorite part was the language barrier because it taught me a lot of patience and it just taught me how to do medicine in a different sense.
Wow.
So, like for example, to work on their gross motor skills, we had them like reaching for things. Like, you know, of course, we can't say like, you know, reach for this because they're like, you know, what does that mean? So like,
Right.
you have to show them. And like one of the ways that we showed them was doing rock climbing while they were like reaching for objects. So like, you know,
Wow.
I did fall off one time, but you know, I was in the harness, but I did fall off. But you know, it was like fun within it because like, you know, we're all laughing and it's like we were finding ways to bond, even though we couldn't really understand each other, but we still like had this sense of like, I know what you're saying, but I don't know what you're saying, you know, so it was
Right.
fun. And then we got to like show them a little bit of like, you know, American medicine, and they showed us a little bit of like Thai medicine and
Okay.
just seeing the two intertwine. And yeah, it was just a really,
Yeah.
it was a really cool
Real
experience.
herbal from the earth, because that's why she went. She's Buddhist, so she was in the city, but then she took a plane an hour and a half away to go up in the mountains where the monks were to go and study and pray and learn some herbalism. And wow, that was not in my notes, Mimi. I did not know that.
Yeah. You want to do it, do it. I'm not one of those parents who clip her wings. I said, as a mom, my goal is to help her develop wings to fly. And if she
Right.
falls, I'm going to gently guide her,
Gotcha.
you know, give her
Mhm.
a pep talk, and we got to get back up and try to go, because
Get
she
back
knows
up and try
we do
again.
not
Right.
have the
Wow.
woe is me attitude. We do not have like, you can acknowledge
that's
being
right.
afraid, but let's get around it. Let's figure out how we're going to get going, because fear will only hold you back. But not only that, by doing what you're afraid of, it helps you develop confidence and resilience. And so, you know, people always say, aren't you scared sending your daughter, your only child, away? I mean, you're going to always have concerns, but as mom, I do my own research to make sure everything is legit. I reach out to a
Exactly.
friend of mine who's an attorney to look into some things for me as well. And then
Right.
I have to give her the confidence to believe she can do it. But one of the things I really liked about her physical therapy abroad is that it taught her that she had to work with different cultures, because you're not just going to work with Americans when you become a therapist, and you're going to
Work
have
with everybody.
you're going to have language barriers. You're going to have different rehabilitation needs. And so she was able to work with the kids with different different intellectual disabilities, physical disabilities, and it teaches compassion. So there was lessons outside of working, working the role in rehab. You have to develop compassion, patience, cultural difference, and learn how can you help this population or this student,
That's
or this
amazing.
person
Wow.
outside of what in America.
Just when I thought
You were done.
she's amazing, you tell me something else. I'm just like, what can't Mimi do? There's a
That's
thought
what
for
our
a
friends say.
where in the world is Mimi now? You can have that. And then what can't Mimi do? There's
Her
another
friends
series for you.
often say that on her. I read her little comments, and her friends say, and the common ones I read are, "What can't Mimi do?"
What
Or
can't you do, girl? But I love that. I love that.
she says she can't do her eyebrows. So,
Girl,
That
listen,
gives me a lot of
your little
trouble.
eyebrow kid, unless you just like getting them done. That's a whole
Oh,
thing.
no,
But
no.
oh my goodness. So before we go, Mom, this is for you. And then
Mhm.
we'll talk about your trip next week to Botswana. But there are families listening right now, students listening, looking at their financial aid packages, stressed about Parent Plus loan changes, Pell Grant
Mhm.
changes. What would you say to them? What would you tell them how they might be approaching scholarships the wrong way, especially their perception of scholarships? Well, these certain people are winning, that's why I'm not winning. And also, what role do you play in keeping her motivated? Talk to me about
Thank
that.
you. That was a heavily loaded question, but I'm going to try to address all of those points in your question. So, one, I tell parents it is a full-time job. It is not
Three
something you
jobs.
can do. Yes, and here's the thing. I have the energy for it because I want to see her graduate debt free. Thankfully, my loans were discharged, so as a result, I know how that could
Well,
cripple your.
congratulations.
Thank
Wow.
you. Thank you. And I know how, well, it was my master's and doctorate, not because my undergrad was free athletic scholarship, but my loans were able to be discharged. And I know how that can cripple your household finances, and preventing you from doing different things. And I don't want her or any students that I come across to have debt. And if they have to have it, very minimal, because I don't really want them to have to live with that, because, it does affect, travel. It affects, balancing your household budget. It affects maybe you having to get a second job to pay your student loans back. It just has so many effects. So that's one thing. The second thing is, I tell parents to find a way that you can help your child based on your own situation. By me being a teacher, I have access to high school counselors who have a scholarship database.
Right.
So I would reach out to them and ask them, hey, what scholarships did the students win when they have a senior scholarship awards event? I would go and write down the names of those scholarships and keep them in my own database and look up to see if they would be applicable for her for when it's her time, or any other student. So I would say, go to your senior award assembly and find out what students are winning. I suggest they go to school websites. Every school has a scholarship counseling department and see what scholarships are being posted. But more importantly, to teach them to advocate for themselves, I tell parents, make sure you encourage your student, like my daughter did. Go talk to your high school counselor, because they have a wealth of information. And once you form that relationship with them, that professional relationship with them, they're going to know, okay, she comes in here, she tells me she's interested in physical therapy. I'm going to look for rehabilitation type scholarships and opportunities. So when you develop that relationship, they're going to keep it in the back of their mind. I know what this student is looking for. And then third, don't be afraid to ask for help, because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
But you do know, I don't know how to do this. So don't be afraid to ask, because what I learned is, when I help families as well, I tell them, feel free to ask whatever question you want, because you don't know what's an appropriate question or inappropriate. And so after the end of my workshops, I always ask them, do you feel that by the time you're leaving here, that you empowered enough to help your kid? Because I give them information to help them once they leave, so they can now help their child, saying, okay, this is how I do a search. I show them how to use Instagram to find scholarships specifically to their needs. For example, in the For You search engine, I teach them how, because kids are on social media all the time, as well as our parents. So I said, use that to your advantage. So go in the search engine and type exactly what you need. HBCU scholarships in nursing. Then you'll see all those pictures come up of different scholarships in nursing for HBCU students. And now by clicking on them, you're changing your algorithm. So scholarships will start to appear.
Come to you.
That algorithm search. So I tell them that and I leave my information as a way to contact, but I also tell them, use Google. It's your best friend. What you
It
don't
is.
know, you can find through Google or ChatGPT, but be
Yep.
very specific in your search questions so you can get the search results you need. So it may be local scholarships in Arizona for Black students, because
Right.
the local ones, people don't, I think, this is just my personal opinion. I think people discredit local scholarships because they're smaller as opposed to national scholarships like Coca-Cola
Right.
and Dale. But you have a
Those
better
small
chance
ones
of-
add up, though. They add up.
Oh, her
Add
local
up.
ones added up that paid for one whole year just from local alone, because we use D9, we used local. Then through her school council provided a lot of local scholarships for her major as well as other ones. So we used local to pay for, one whole year. And plus, I know you're probably going to laugh when you hear this because we're about to add something else. Our church, it's a pretty well-to-do church. It's about giving back. She qualified. She received a personal check every semester, full tuition. She won a 4-year scholarship from our church, and it's based on tuition only on Arizona, based on Arizona tuition. So she got a $6,000 check to her every semester, every December and August. That's when she would get it. And so people underestimate using your churches, your credit unions,
Absolutely.
your parents' place of employment.
All
so
that.
I provide parents and tell them, look at all of that.
I'm laughing because I say this all the time. Your mosque, your church, your synagogue, and a lot of other faith denominations give to kids that don't have to go to that church. You don't have to go there. They give scholarships to everybody.
Yeah, we're thankful for our church, though, because she did the work. She was active in church. She met the GPA. She did all the things that they asked. That was part of the qualification. And it wasn't just her. We give out typically 2 full tuition per year. So they keep it going, and you can use it just for undergrad only, not for grad school. But I'm just saying, there's ways you can get it funded, and then keep a chart organized. So at the end of your freshman year, you can look at the chart you created to apply again the following year. And I would say develop a system to get it color coded. Okay, these are renewable scholarship. This is a scholarship I can apply to as a sophomore, junior, senior. And that way you have a starting point of scholarships you can apply for as a returning student. The other thing I would say is don't be afraid to use the resources. Go to your department, if it's biology, English, saying what departmental scholarships are available, because there's so many available within your own department. 3, tell those professors, hey, it's tight on me. Do you know of any scholarships? The more, what they say, the hungry mouths, closed mouths don't get fed.
Don't go fed, right.
So no one knows your needs. So don't be afraid to share that. And then apply for RA positions, because that's a way to reduce your debt, to get your dorm paid for, and
Hope
money
y'all are listening, writing, taking notes. This is all good stuff.
And those are just ways you can just reduce your debt, because at the end of the day, education is important, but getting high debt is not really the goal. But don't let debt be the reason that you don't pursue your goal, because there's ways you can reduce that. And what you don't know, but don't be afraid to ask, because asking somebody will connect you to the right person.
Right. Wow. I hope y'all heard all of that. That's amazing. And all good information, all legit and all useful, because if you do all of those things, you're on your way to getting as many scholarships, or maybe half as many. Maybe but that's good stuff, Mom. That's a word. That's a word on this Sunday. So before we go, just talking with you both has just been amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I know you were traveling this summer to Botswana with the HBCU team for the Solid International Cup, volleyball, cultural immersion, safari, Victoria Falls. What does it mean, Mimi, to represent your HBCU and just yourself on this global stage?
It's a great honor, but it also just shows what's possible, because I actually received that through a connection that I made. So it just shows, the power of networking and nurturing those connections, but also how you kind of can't really limit yourself to just your country, and it extends far beyond your country as well. And we're also doing community service while we're there. So that's a deep value of mine, and just showing that no matter where you go, you always have the opportunity to plant a seed and make a way for others to come behind you and do the same. So, and have fun. We eat good while we're there. So
girl, you are always looking for the food, and I love that. I love that about you. Listen, I gotta have you back on, because I want to hear about the food in Botswana. I really do, Mom. How proud are you? How proud are you of her? Because I'm proud. I just met her. So I know.
So
I know.
Our pastor has a saying. He always says peacock proud. I am peacock proud of her. Because when she was younger, she was such an introvert. And we talk
Really?
about this.
I can't tell it.
Well, no, and that's one of the
I
reasons
can't
I'm proud,
tell.
because she was such an introvert. Even her hairstylist, he was like, when you were little, I didn't know if you liked me, because she was just always quiet and observant. She spoke in a monotone way,
Right.
and I tell people there's nothing wrong. They didn't think it was anything wrong, but they were just like, is everything okay? And I said, that's just her. She's just quiet. So I'm proud to see how she's blossomed into this extroverted person who has friends in every city. When she goes to, she's hanging out with people. She's
Right.
not afraid to just approach someone and ask for an opportunity. Like that really
Right.
gets me, because she's not afraid of that. She's not afraid of making connections. She's not afraid of asking for an opportunity.
She's
Not
fearless.
afraid. Yeah, and I love that, because
I love
those
that.
qualities and traits she's going to need in life. Be fearless. But one of the things that I think helped when she was younger, I'm not into the pageant life. I don't knock it. It's just not me. But I saw what the Little Miss Black Arizona pageant did for those little girls, and I said, okay, I'm going to put her in, because I need for her to be comfortable with speaking to the public. I need her to be comfortable with meeting people outside of her friend zone. And that, I believe, is what was the catalyst that started it, because she started to get comfortable. She was on stages speaking, introducing herself. That started, and I started to see it develop then. And then I started to see it really develop in high school. But in college, it just took off. I'm like, who is this child?
Wow.
This social butterfly
Right.
that's talkative, gets along with everybody, easygoing. Like, the part that gets me is that she has friends in every state, that she just hangs out.
I think I'm at 90% of the states.
But
I'm missing like Wyoming, and
Even
Idaho.
Alaska and Hawaii.
No, I do have a friend in Alaska and Hawaii.
But not every state. I shouldn't have. That was just an exaggeration. But I meant more
now
so.
She will, because there's a challenge now. You're like, oh, not every. Okay,
Yeah,
go find a friend. You can find a soror in every state. I tell you that. Go find some.
So
I bet you can.
yeah, and it was an exaggeration in every state. So I apologize. I didn't mean to make it sound
okay.
like that. I just meant to say she has friends everywhere. Like we went to National Convention last summer in DC, and I'm checking her whereabouts. She out hanging with her friends, just different people calling her to go hang out. She go to different speaking events. So there are other things that we didn't talk about that she did. She had 3 national speaking events, 2 with the Black Student Athlete Summit in Los Angeles and Chicago. The third one was with Rise HBCU in Charlotte. Raleigh-Durham, I'm sorry. And she talked about how to brand yourself as an athlete and sharing NIL opportunities with HBCU athletes that were there.
Wow.
And so those things make me proud, not because of the opportunity, but because of how it gets her out of her shell to confront any challenges of nervousness, and like, I can do this on a big stage. And so one of the things she has at the end of the month, end of June, the first lady of our church and pastor, the scholarship coordinator at our church reached out to her, said, your accomplishments, because she CC'd me to the email, your accomplishments are so massive. We have got to have you speak for our college day. So our church is huge, like 3,000 people. And so she's going to be delivering the main message.
Wow. That's amazing. Congratulations. As you should. Go motivate them kids. Yes. As you should.
So, yes. So she asked you, could she get an amen? And you can give her an amen.
Amen. Hallelujah. Yes. Mimi, you are living proof of what happens when you're prepared, and then you meet the moment, right? You meet the opportunity, and you just inspiration for everybody, but especially little Black girls out there that are thinking, well, maybe I can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You are proof. I like to ask my scholarship coaching kids what their it factor is. If you could use one word to describe yourself, Mimi, what would it be? What's your it factor?
I think her it factor are 2 words: belief and confidence. I believe she thinks she can do it, and she's confident in knowing she can do it. And so you can't have one without the other. And then she knows I'm right up under her feet, that when you fall, you're on my shoulders. I'm going to push you up higher to make you believe you can do it. And so she knows I'm going to support everything. But in order to do something, she has to believe first she can do it. And then she has to have the confidence. So her it factor is just, it goes it expands into so many aspects of her life. Okay, I believe I can do this. I'm going to try it. Okay, now I can do it. Let me put it together. So
Right.
those are just my thoughts. I've never been asked that, so I didn't. I think it was a good question because it made me think and go into
You
a
had to
deep
think.
dive.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
always
but
start off my sessions with that. Mimi's mom right? Or do you have a different it factor, you think?
Yes, she's right. Since she used 2 words, I'm gonna use 2 words myself. I would say unexpected purpose. Because I
Ooh,
think with everything
that's
that people
good.
do, I always give them the answer that they don't expect. Like when people try to make things a little bit more difficult for me in the journey, or maybe like try to doubt me, I always give them the unexpected response as to I rise above the occasion and I show that I have purpose in every room that I'm in or in every endeavor that I
That's
embark on.
good.
So I think also too I exceed my own expectations.
Expectations. Yeah.
So I would
Your
say
bar is up here, girl. Listen, if the bar is here, your bar is way up here.
well,
The
what do
sky
you
isn't
think?
the limit.
What do you think based on here? What do you think the it factor is?
you can use 2 words as well, so we can keep.
She may
Please.
want to have 5. She may want to have
Oh,
5.
not y'all asking me questions now. I definitely think you are fearless.
Mhm.
And I definitely think, oh my goodness, so many words.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Oh wow. Okay, you're fearless, Mimi, definitely. And I mean, you're just talented, but blessed beyond measure. You anointed, I would say. You're fearless and you're anointed because for you to be able to have accomplished more than most grown folks that I know, for you to just be able to say, I see this, I'm gonna go get it. I know this, I'm gonna go do it. And if you don't know how to do it, I'm gonna put it together and do it myself. Like it takes a special kind of person to do what you do and say what you say and deliver it in the way that you deliver it. You have an anointing. You're definitely protected and covered and blessed. And I just think like the best is yet to come. You've done amazing things, but you're not done yet. And I'm so excited to see what you do next. So you're definitely anointed and definitely fearless because fear and faith can't occupy the same space. I tell my kids all the time. So you've got to have faith, and faith without works is dead. You doing the work.
Mhm.
You about to go to Africa. I can't wait you gonna come right back here when you get back because I can't wait to hear all about it. Wow. This has been amazing. You both are amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Nicole and Mimi. Mimi, tell the people where they can follow you. Follow your journey, girl. Where can we follow you on all the socials?
So they can follow me on Instagram. It's MIMIHARRISS, 2 S's. And then my LinkedIn is the same, just with a space between the Mimi and the Harris. And then my TikTok is the same as the Instagram, but just with 3 S's.
All right. Y'all heard it here. Mom, Mimi, so amazing. I'm speechless. I'm just so excited to see what you do next. Thank you all for being here. Any final words from either one of you?
No, thank you for having us. And we do hope, well, let me speak for myself because she has a voice. I do hope that parents, students listening can take away something valuable in their journey to realize that you don't have to be like me to help her, but you can be your own self and find a way to help your own child. And that may mean having conversations like, what's the best way for me to help you, by asking. And so I was just helpful in her unique situation because I wanted her to enjoy her senior year and be a senior, and not something else that I didn't say based on that statement. Because senior year is important to me. All the years are, but senior year is important to me because it's her last year.
Right.
I made sure starting 7th grade, she did the work every summer. So senior year, she can enjoy it because she did a little at a time because we were she was also playing club volleyball. So summertime was spent with volleyball and traveling. I wanted her to get community service done as well as we had a summer conversation. What outlook did she want to do? Things that she wanted to do for the upcoming year. And so the goal in doing that was going in with an agenda. Okay, I want to make sure by sophomore year, I'm in 2 clubs, and 3rd year have a leadership role, and 4th year I can just chill because I did all the work beforehand. Something else to share with parents is what we did is during middle school to junior high, I was intentional with placing her in academic enrichment programs with the universities that allowed her to get comfortable with being away from home. Because as an only child, it's just about you. You have your own bathroom, your own room. So sharing space is, can be a challenge.
Important,
important, but I wanted to make sure that one, she started to get comfortable being away from home because I knew I didn't want her to stay here, not in a negative way. She needs to fly and she needs to leave the
grow.
nest.
Right.
And so I intentionally put her in the university's program that allowed her to stay on the campus. They took summer school classes. I told her to learn to get thinking on problem solving. I said, when you have a problem, don't call me. And then when you have a problem, don't call me again.
Don't call me.
You think, only because I was trying to teach her, you got to figure it out, because she can't go through college. Like, what do I do? So, and not only that, it's just teaching her how to figure things out for herself. And I said, don't get me wrong, if it dealt with abuse, emotional, mental, physical, or racism, yes, call. But other than that, those are things you're going to have to figure out with a roommate or life. And so, and it was just teaching her how to develop those skills. So I would say find summer programs with universities. Many are free. You can apply for financial aid for these programs and make sure that they're in something that's going to prepare them for life. So I think these programs, you can ask her if they were helpful enough with staying in the dorm, seeing what college life is like. So you get the college going attitude developed at the early age. And that way she's getting used to being away from home little by little, not so much overwhelming at once, but then
little bite-sized pieces at a time. Yeah.
Bite-sized pieces. But then the big test came when she was 12. I sent her with this Black organization called the Passport Party Project. They went to Costa Rica, and it was to give girls their first passport. She had already had hers, but she had just gotten it during that process, but she had gotten it stamped with a trip we took, overseas. And that's when I was like, okay, I think she's ready, because she came back, at 12, sending her with an organization, without any family or friends. So you have
a lot of faith, Mom, a lot of bravery on your part to do
it.
It
is, but I have a friend who's an attorney. We do a lot of background checks.
So everybody met the standard then. Okay.
She doesn't go anywhere without me knowing the background of everything. I don't tell them that's what I'm doing, but I have to feel comfortable letting her go.
Of course.
And live life. Experience life, but knowing that I did the background part. So trust me, they don't know it, but all the
checking them out. Right. Gotcha. That's another thing I didn't know. She went to Costa Rica and stuff. All right, let me write that down. Mimi traveled abroad in middle school. But middle school is, and I tell people all the time, middle school, you can talk about it. Like I tell my 4th and 5th graders all the time, the importance of college and scholarships and getting grounded and rooted in what you're passionate about and what you might want to major in. But middle school is when the pedal meets the metal. Middle school. Absolutely. I agree. Wow. Well, you are amazing. I can't wait to have you back. Thank you both so much for taking time on this Sunday. God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good.
God is good.
Yes, all the time. So thank you for being on this episode of Scholarship Tea with me. I'm the Scholarship College Mama, and I will see you all next week. Thank you so much.